Serious, what stole your joy? Why do you not have the same zest for life that you once did? Spouse and 3 kids died in an accident. People said it would take time to feel joy again, but it's been over a decade now without much change. I enjoy little things from day to day now, but Therese no larger point anymore. Life is mostly just a chore. Halloween made 5 years since my wife and son died. She was 8 months pregnant. He was our first. He died 35 hours later in the NICU. You are absolutely correct. I don't have nor can I find big picture happiness. Just the random day-to-day uptick that is welcome, but I know it is temporary. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I can't understand losing your wife, but I lost a child when I was 8 months pregnant when I was shot in the stomach. A son. 3 days away from being induced. I almost died. He didn't survive, but saved my life. I would have traded places with him if I could have. I have other children here that need me though. I'm so very sorry. Shot in the stomach. Jesus Christ, that is a sick person to do that. I'm so sorry. Not so fun fact, murder is the #1 cause of death for pregnant women, more than all pregnancy-related complications combined, and the most common culprit is the baby's father. Not saying that's what happened to the commenter, but it's worth knowing how big a deal femicide is. I lost my wife to cancer in 2019. We had been together for 34 years. She was my best friend, the love of my life. We raised a family together and had big plans for when the kids moved out. We were going to travel and do all sorts of fun stuff together, just the 2 of us. She passed right before COVID hit. I went through the entire lockdown by myself in a town with no family and no real friends. We could have spent so much time together. Now that things are getting back to normal, I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. #X200B, edit, wow, thank you. I posted this thinking it was more of a message in a bottle, then had to walk away from Reddit for a few days. I'm absolutely floored by the response. All I can add is that I'll be okay. She made me promise that I wouldn't do anything stupid, that I would be there for our children. I intend to keep that promise. I can relate to this, but with my adopted parents, I lost them both in a tragic accident in early 2020. They had adopted me as their only child almost exactly 20 years prior, rescuing me from a very violent and unsafe situation. They were my absolute best friends, we were 3 peas in a pod. For a long time I felt so robbed, like we were supposed to have had so much more time together as a family. Then I stumbled onto a Winnie the Pooh quote, "How lucky I am to have had something that makes saying goodbye so hard." It dawned on me how extraordinarily lucky I am to have had 20 years with the most incredible people I've ever had the privilege of loving. Although I still miss them fiercely and hate the absence they left behind, I can now feel the gratitude and joy of the time we had together. I understand our situations are different, but I share this in hope it will bring you some of the comfort it brought me. The realization that no matter what I do, no matter how many hours I work, I'll still never be able to get ahead. Working just to have little to nothing to show for it doesn't feel great. Surviving, not thriving. It becomes normalized too. You eventually get to TBE point where everything is seen as a zero-sum gain-loss. It's a ducked-up way to live. My mum died and it all went to shit. Same, but it was my dad. He literally just collapsed dead out or nowhere. Shortly after that pandemic started, then shortly after that our landlords had to terminate our lease so they could move back onto the property. So my wife and I were forced to move to a new place while rent prices were crazy. Now we barely have enough money for the things we used to enjoy together. He missed meeting his first grandkid, my daughter, by less than a year. Miss you, Dad, wish we had more time. My spouse died of cancer. Literally nothing holds joy anymore. Life consists of waiting for it to be done. I can't imagine this. And think about my sister-in-law daily. I lost my brother to cancer last year and life just doesn't feel fair anymore. I said this to someone the other day, I don't feel much genuine happiness for others and I don't think I'll ever feel the same amount of joy I've felt when Hess been around. My brother died about 10 years ago. I felt exactly like you do for the first few years. Then it got easier. Not better, but easier. And then a few years after that, it really does feel okay most of the time. Not always. It still wrecks me every year when the seasons change to winter. And many other times. But life becomes enjoyable again. Things bring you genuine happiness. Hang in there. This comment is making me cry, so I'm signing off now. But know that you've got an internet stranger out here thinking of you and wishing you so much healing and happiness to come. Thank you, I really needed to hear this today. It's been so difficult lately. Sending so much love to you. I turned my hobby into my profession. Now I don't have a hobby anymore and I enjoy doing what I do less now that I need to do it in order to get money. I studied physics and astronomy because I had a passion for it as a child. The coursework was extremely difficult, which was okay. The gatekeeping attitude from professors and peers is what killed it for me. I was constantly reminded that I was not smart enough to be worth anything in the field. I completed my degree absolutely burned out and devoid of my initial love. Years later I came back to astronomy as the hobbyist I initially was and accepted that I was much happier not trying to be a professional. I got into a car accident in March that I thought I walked away from with no injuries. 2 days later my head started bobbing and I couldn't make it stop. Turns out I suffered some brain damage and developed a neurological disorder called cervical dystonia. Now I'm in constant pain, my head looks like it was screwed on wrong, I can't look at anything without rolling my shoulders forward so I look like a hunchback. And it's so embarrassing. No one's ever heard of dystonia, so I know when people look at me they wonder what TF is wrong with me. It's completely dehumanizing and I feel like a monster. As if it wasn't bad enough that I'm in excruciating pain. All because of a fender bender. I just lay in bed all day now. Edit, thank you all for the well wishes, it warms my heart as for treatments, I am hopeful that something will work, but I'm currently in between neurologists because I had to move unexpectedly. The last one was about to start me on Botox and physical therapy, and I had to wait several months for an opening because they were the only ones in the area that took my insurance. But I'll find a new one, and see what they can do for me. I am not without hope, and the fact that so many people care really brightened my day. I have cervical dystonia. I go to a neurologist that specializes in movement disorders and get Botox injections every 4 months. That removes 100% of my symptoms. I urge you to look into it yourself. If you get just a fraction of the relief I get, I think it would be worth it. Money. Specifically the fact that I need to acquire it constantly. The worst part is that with the same amount of work you can afford less and less. Work. It no longer satisfies. It's just a means to an end. I used to like working but now it's just a meat grinder. 14 years until I retire. My management at work. I used to enjoy coming to work. The incompetence permeates everything that they touch. Chronic illness. Edit, and chronic pain. The healthy man wants 1,000 things. The sick man only one. Incurable, inoperable brain cancer at 36. Edit, diagnosed at 34, not 36. Hey, mine was at 30, still here 7 years later. No idea how long it's been for you, but although it was always on my mind pretty constantly for the first 4 years, now I have long periods of time, hours, a day, without really thinking about it, and not because of my brain friend chipping away at my memory. I was diagnosed with a brain tumor, brain and spine cancer at age 15. When they tried to remove the tumor they snapped some nerves behind my left eye and now it's permanently closed and useless. Also took my peripheral vision and depth perception, so now I have very limited vision and can't drive. I spent my sweet 16 in the hospital as I was recovering. 364 days after my diagnosis, my recent MRI showed no signs of cancer. But there is a spot in my brain that they are not sure if it is scar tissue or cancer, but it hasn't grown since then, 5 years. Hopefully it's just scar tissue. So sorry to hear your story. I hope you're okay, all things considered. Being blind. Realizing no matter how good I become at something, able-bodied people will and are better. Realizing that I can be amazing something and never get anything more than you are good for a blind person. People replying to you like they know what it's like to have an absolutely debilitating disability. So much of our world is based on vision. Glad you made it this far, friend. Learning that no one but myself can make me happy, and that I'm not able to do this. Also having tried to fit in for such a long time that I'm just burned out. I felt the same way. Battled a dark period of several years. I mean very dark. A friend begged me to do a small dose of mushrooms. 1 milligram. I was terrified but something told me this was going to help. I didn't hallucinate or have anything crazy happen but somehow I felt a joy and peace I didn't know I was capable of anymore. I sat peacefully and ideas came to me about how I can find peace and happiness for myself and why I haven't been allowing myself more of it. I cried tears of happiness as I continued to uncover more realizations that I can make choices that will bring me joy and they start inside me. I thought I was broken. It's a year later and I am not completely back to my old self but I am way out of the darkness of before. I hope you find something like that, That can help you find your way out too.